Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I don't want to keep you too long, so we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who haven't had a chance, if you'll please use a QR code and fill out the survey that's on the screen, we'd really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marlena Bermel, and I am the Marketing, Alumni, and Outreach Officer for the College of Nursing. I will be your connection to the college after graduation, so you'll continue to get things from me even after you graduate. Joining me today are two of our advisors, Nita Kelly and Guinevere Beard. Let them introduce themselves or say hello.
Hi, I'm Gwen for Albuquerque campus. I'm your advisor. It's good to see all of you all. I'm seeing everyone's back of the heads, but it's good to talk to you all, and we'll have a lot of information here soon. So,
hi, I'm Nita. I know I've seen you all out at the West Campus. I'm not sure if other folks have let you know, or if you've gotten those IT notifications that we've been having internet outages across all of the different HSC campuses. So if for whatever reason we get disconnected in the middle of the Zoom call, we do have a backup to make sure that you all get the information, and that Marlena, Gwen, and I will be doing a recorded version to send to you. So regardless of what happens and whether we lose random internet access in the middle of things, we'll make sure that you all get the information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Nita. And we are recording this Zoom call right now so that we will send it out to you as well. So you have the information in front of you as you're going through your steps for the NCLEX. But before we get started on that, let me go ahead and talk to you a little bit more about alumni life. There we go. So for alumni relations, the purpose is basically to continue your relationship with us as a college and as a university as you move forward. We will be providing you information at the very basic level of what the college is doing. So you'll get some e-newsletters. You might get some invitations to events like reunions and awards. We also ask that you maybe volunteer. We might call you for those reasons. We might see if you want to be a preceptor for our students. And then also a lot of times if you're looking for classmates because life gets busy and you might want to lose touch with each other, we can help you find classmates as well. So I always encourage you that if you need something from UNM and you don't know where to start with me. I'm happy to help you, and I'm happy to make sure that you get to the right place. The other phone calls I also get is for maybe you've moved and you need some documentation because you need to do a license in a different state. We can help you with that too. So all of the things, but I'm here to help, and I'm here to assist wherever you need it. Now, if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to stay connected with us through social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and again, like I mentioned, we will have an e-newsletter that'll go out to, and that goes out about monthly now. In addition to all of this, we do offer some job services for you. So throughout your career as an alum, these are all available to you. First of all, the College of Nursing has a job board. Let's see if this the internet's so slow. Thinking. So if you go to the College of Nursing alumni and then jobs, we have job postings here. We usually keep them up for about 3 months. Got to clean it up a little bit more, but we have job postings here of people in the community looking for nurses. So you can always click on these, and then you have a place to their website and a person to talk to. So please know that that's available. As you work through your career, if you become a manager or are in charge and need to hire nurses, we also have a form at the bottom of this page to allow employers to fill out so that we can post their job posting, and those are all for free. So I want you to know about that. The other thing is UNM Career Services is available to you for free as an alum. And Career Services is a great place to start. They can help you do a job search. They can help you with your resume. They can do mock interviews for you. There's job fairs. So oftentimes, if the easiest is to go to students and alumni, and it helps you right here with all the resources you need. They also have ask a question or live chat if you need to ask them anything. So all of this is available to you for free as an award. And then just a plug, so you guys remember, I know you've gotten lots of emails, but the College of Nursing's convocation ceremony is Friday, May 10th at the Pit. Students were asking you to arrive at 2:45, no later, and then the ceremony will begin at 3:30. UNM commencement ceremony, that's a larger ceremony with everybody from UNM, is Saturday, May 11th, again at the Pit, asking students to arrive at 7:30 a.m. and that ceremony begins at 9. Do we have any questions about any of that before we move on to the NCLEX information?
It doesn't look like we have any questions here, but our volume's really low. So if you can work with me, I'm willing to just do a quick test of switching volume while anyone else has questions.
Yeah.
We have a question here in Albuquerque.
So just to clarify, 'cause I'm still a little confused about it. Do we need to go to the convocation and the commencement, or do we only need to go to one of those?
So neither one is required. Both are up to you if you want to attend one or both.
Otherwise, I'm just trying.
They usually do something with like that thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, yes, I have all the,
Did you hear my answer? Sorry.
Yeah, we heard it.
Okay, good, yeah. Are there any other questions that anybody has?
here we go. We're good over here.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues and we're going to talk to you about the NCLEX. Again, if you haven't done so already, if you've come in a little later, if you will please take this survey. This survey allows us to know, one, if you already have gotten a job, which helps us for graduation, for grants and accreditation purposes, but more we're interested also in knowing your future plans. So if you don't mind, it's really short. It takes less than 5 minutes. If you don't mind filling it out, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay.
Cool. So basically, the Board of Nursing has updated a little bit. So if you've looked at it before, kind of thing, the website's changed just a little bit. We have kind of noticed that some of you have already started your application, so great for getting ahead of the game. We just want to let you know that the process of completing the application is not going to happen until after you've graduated. So we have the links for the Board of Nursing and to create your account if you haven't already done so. If you, the state of New Mexico is considered a compact state, so it's up to you. There are several exams where there's just the NCLEX for just the state of New Mexico versus doing the compact exam, which allows you to practice in several states at the same time. The website there is just to kind of identify which one that you're more interested in and gets you to the right NCLEX exam that you need to take. Oh. Do we have questions already?
I just wanted to see if they could go back to the last one.
It was two asking that same question. Thank you.
And we'll also, you will get a copy of this too, so if you wanted to be able to have the clickable links and stuff, Marlena and our team will send this out, so you'll get the copy of the recording and all of the links and stuff that you can kind of click on in terms of that, because our main focus is the New Mexico Board of Nursing side and the NCLEX. If you are looking at taking it in another state, it may be similar, but it may be a little bit different in terms of those. So if you do have those specific questions for us, you can always reach out to us directly. We may not necessarily know all of the answers, but we can at least find some answers for you.
Cool. So basically for the examination fee, it's very straightforward here. And again, we'll have all of the documents so you can kind of read it off again. So going to your portal, when you create your account, the application, in order to complete it, is $150. So if you have not paid that $150 fee, you have not submitted your application. Keep that in mind. There are instructions on which specific exam that you'll be taking, and we have it all listed out. So basically, you'll be doing the RN version. There is the Pearson VUE. That's also part of a different fee, but you'll still have to complete that as well. This is basically where the NCLEX exists. And then everything for the application is not refundable. So please make sure that when you're submitting everything, everything is correct, because you don't want to do this twice. So for background checks, the company that they're using is Intent to Go. There's a phone number. They also have a certain website that you can use. You'll be scheduling an appointment. The background check is $59. And you can see here, the ORI number is specifically what you'll want to type in for the registered nurse, the NM number combination there. That's specifically going to be for just to identify that you're a new nurse. You'll be doing a fingerprint location, and you'll have to go to the actual place to get your fingerprints taken. There is a process with the criminal background check where after 30 days or so, you will be able to submit the printed version to be attached to your application. The Board of Nursing has stressed that you do not want to submit this request until a couple of days until you're ready to submit your application. Remember, if you haven't paid the $150, you haven't completed your application. So just make sure that once you have your fingerprints taken, wait until you're ready to actually submit your application, to actually submit the request for your fingerprint, the printed version, to be attached and mailed to the Board of Nursing. And then we have an additional step, because it looks like there's a little bit of difference for if you're an international applicant or an international student. Same things apply, except the registration ID has to be mailed, and all of that. The same OIR number is the same for this.
I add a caveat to that. So with the fingerprinting and set kind of timing with those, one of the other things that you're going to be submitting is your, and we'll definitely talk a little bit about the affidavit of graduation versus the transcripts for education verification. So some of this is going to be kind of playing with the timing of when you submit that background check and those fingerprints, because they are only good for 30 days. And the main reason that I mentioned that is students think it's kind of, or sometimes students think it's automatic for your diploma to get processed and degree awards and things like that to happen. It's definitely not. We're one of, I don't know, 5 steps before everything gets processed and on your transcripts. And so in terms of that timing, that is typically 6 to 8 weeks after the end of the semester. So if you are kind of looking at your timing in terms of that, you know, we're happy to write letters and things like that that say, hey, yes, you are done. But that won't usually suffice for taking anything for the NCLEX. They do want that affidavit of graduation or your official transcripts that specifically say BSN in nursing and then the specific award date. Did you want me to take over for these ones, Gwen, or which would?
Yeah, that's fine.
So in terms of some of the steps for these other ones, and like Gwen said, you're definitely going to get the PowerPoint, and then you're also going to get a document that breaks these down as well. So if you're more of a like, hey, I want to see this in like a paper form, we also have it set up that way. Let me pause for the question, and then we'll talk about this one.
Go ahead.
So 6 to 8 weeks before we're able, after we graduate, before we're able to take NCLEX.
That's what the university registrar's office, which is the folks that process the diplomas and the official transcripts, say. We've seen it take less than that, but since that's specifically what they say on their graduation website is 6 to 8 weeks after the end of the term, that's generally the date that we'll give out, since that's specifically what they have on their website. So yes, that's accurate. One of the other things that's going to be in the FAQ, since we know that that is a little while from after you finish classes, is the health sciences library also has some review materials that you can access through health science library and board vitals. So that's also included in some of the frequently asked questions. So if you did want to do some review things in the interim, those are things that you get access to as a UNM student.
We have another question.
Just to know how much we need to save up to pay for all the fees. If I'm doing the math right, as of right now, the slide we've gone through, around $409.
We would have to we can add them all up because I think the background check was 69, this is 200, and then the 150 for Board of Nursing, so that puts it at like 459, at least right now, and I think there were a potential couple of other fees, Gwen, but I don't remember off the top of my head with the other steps.
So yes, with the criminal background check, when it comes to the fingerprints, there may be additional fees depending on the location, but that is as much as they were able to tell me about that. So there may be some additional fees added to the total 409, 459.
Got you, Greg.
Go ahead.
And I just, before we move forward, I just want to stress that everything our advisors are going over right now are through the Board of Nursing. It is not through the College of Nursing. None of this is anything we control or get the money for or do anything for. So they're just trying to help you get from point A to point B through the Board of Nursing's process. So just so you're all aware of that.
Follow-up question?
For those of us who are gonna practice as new grad nurses, we have to submit a application for new grad nursing license to the Board of Nursing. And that's also, we'll have to pay for a background and fingerprint for that. Will that background and fingerprint be applicable multi-use? Like, can I use one background check for my graduate nurse permit and my application to take the NCLEX? Or will I have to get two background checks for $59?
So if you're doing it through the Board of Nursing and separate from an employer, then it should be the same account information because you do have to create an account for your criminal background check when you're registering through the Board of Nursing. If you're doing it as a different private criminal background check facility or something like that, then that would be different. So if it's through the Board of Nursing and you created an account through the Board of Nursing and did all the steps through that, that should stay the same. It just depends if your employer has a different criminal background check company that they use.
Yeah, we definitely understand, like, I appreciate you clarifying, really, like, this is definitely not fees that we're adding on, it's definitely things that are through New Mexico Board of Nursing, but definitely understand the students are like, hey, I need to kind of plan out financially for how I'm gonna manage some of these different upcoming expenses. So we definitely understand that too. Any other questions before we look at this stuff? Didn't want to cut anybody off. Somebody was like right in the middle of a question. So in terms of this third step of that one, it's going to be registering online for the Pearson View, and using a, like it says, valid credit card. They won't send out reminders or any of those kinds of things. So you're registering for NCLEX licensure testing. And like you said, hey, it costs us $200 for this one. Once you successfully registered through Pearson View, then they'll say, hey, yes, you have an account. And then you're good to move on to those next stages. So when you are registering to take the NCLEX, for verification purposes, so this is for our own internal tracking later, once students have passed NCLEX and got their RN license, we want to make sure that you're using the correct NCLEX code, especially if you're doing your affidavit of graduation, which we'll go into soon. If you use the wrong code, it goes to the wrong person. And so that's how they know which education they're verifying. Is so when you're registering to take the NCLEX and the state of New Mexico, those are the specific NCLEX codes that you will use. And so when they're selecting those programs, in your all's case, this University of New Mexico BSN is going to be the code that you'll use as Health Sciences West and Health Sciences Rio Rancho. Some of the students who are in my dual degree programs, which is the rest of those, they're using that code. And so that ensures that they get the information to my supervisor instead of, say, the director of Taos or the director of the CNM nursing program. Other things they're looking for is proof of residency, so proof of New Mexico residency and social security card if you are looking for that multi-state license. So affidavit of graduation, that was the word that I was using earlier. So this is the only part that we control in academic advisement, in terms of this step. So degrees, like I mentioned earlier, they're not awarded and noted on your UNM official transcripts until 6 to 8 weeks after the end of the regular semester. So the end of the regular semester is May 10th or May 11th. Add 6 to 8 weeks to that before your official transcripts will have that degree award. For New Mexico Board of Nursing, one of the things that you're putting in there is doing that education verification. So applicants educated in New Mexico can have their education verified through the affidavit of graduation portal as part of that process. Once it's completed, a prompt will be sent to New Mexico Board of Nursing through us to the portal to approve your education. This approval can take the place of submitting official transcripts. Main reason that we suggest this route is it's faster for the educational verification. When you submit this version of it, it goes to our supervisor directly. He goes in and verifies against the list of students that we process in terms of the graduation, and says, yes, this student has completed their education, and they get that information right away. Otherwise, if you order your official transcripts from UNM, once your degree award is on there, it takes however long it takes UNM to send those official transcripts to the New Mexico Board of Nursing, someone opening them through New Mexico Board of Nursing and processing them that way. So generally it's a little faster if we do the affidavit process. And then students testing in another state, you'll need to follow the transcript requirements for that state. Some of them do have affidavit of graduation options, some don't. They'll typically have forms if that's the case. And then you can order your UNM transcripts either through your My UNM account if you still have access, or this link in here will let you access it at any point, even after you're graduate, if you don't necessarily still have access to your My UNM account.
So I just wanted to touch a little bit on the affidavit of graduation, just to make it a little bit clear and concise, because I know we're throwing a lot of information. In the application, there is a part that says education, or a tab for education. That part that you're filling out is your affidavit of graduation. That's only if you are wanting to work in the state of New Mexico. If you want to go out of state and you're not doing a compact NCLEX licensing, then their state has different rules. Just want to be clear for that. For the permit for being able to work while you're waiting for your nursing license, that is pretty straightforward. So basically, you want a letterhead from your employer stating that you are going to be permitted to practice while you're waiting for your license. It does have to state that you're going to be shadowed by someone who already has their license and a practicing RN already. And then the link at the bottom is where you would on that. I feel like a lot of students typically do.
I think we're back.
Yeah, Gwen, we got the last few sentences we did not get and froze on our end.
I think you got as far as that you have to work under the direct supervision of an RN.
Got it. Okay. Sorry about that. My internet likes to be a little wonky. So, like I was saying, working under the supervision of an RN, again, you have to have your letterhead from the employer that wants to hire you and your offer letter. You'll be uploading it at the bottom link that we have there. The link we have on all of the several forms that we'll be giving you all. And just make sure that this is where you submit it, because the Board of Nursing will see it and then they will give you the permit. And then you can give that to your employer and you're good to go. And then, yeah, again, this is the Board of Nursing website and our email. We'll also be giving you a YouTube tutorial as well, because we went ahead and kind of filmed the whole process for you all. So you'll also have that if you're more of a visual learner.
I think my only other kind of tip when you're looking at some of these things going forward is that would encourage you to not use your Salute email for some of these, because you will lose access to your Salute email very quickly after you graduate. You will keep access to your regular UNM Net ID for 3 semesters after you graduate. And I know for folks who already have like internships, placements, or like residencies or things like that set up, you may have some weirdness with your Salute email where you'll have access through like the last day of the semester, you'll lose access, and then you'll suddenly get access again on day 1. So definitely if you're running into any of those kind of hiccups, our Con IT team is fabulous and can kind of help clarify some of those different things. But if you are using a UNM email for something, I would not encourage you to use the Salute, just because you do lose access to it so quickly in most cases.
Do we have any other questions?
No questions over here.
We have a few questions.
Okay,
If we wanted to make an appointment like separately with the people who are speaking right now, like if I wanted to talk to Guinevere, like separately, would I set up a meeting through the advising email?
You can also go through loboachieve.unm.edu. I'll put it in the chat as well. That has a direct link to my schedule, and you'll be able to see days, times that work best for you and what I have available.
Okay, thank you.
And we can also include some of the scheduling instructions that we put together for scheduling with us. So if you're like, hey, I'm not sure which advisor's mine, you should be affiliated in Lobo Achieve with your specific con advisor. But if you're not, we have a PDF that has some screenshots that walks you through in case it's been a little while since you've used Lobo Achieve.
We have another question.
What exactly is the academic process? I'm kind of confused.
Oh, so what is the affidavit of graduation? Is that what I heard?
No, the affidavit process.
What is the process?
Oh, so for the affidavit, again, it is when you're actively filling out the application for the Board of Nursing. There is going to be a part that is titled education. That part is, I wish it was a little bit more clear, but that entire part in the education tab is your affidavit. So just filling that out correctly, the right school that you're attending. So you all are Albuquerque campus, Rio Rancho campus. You would just make sure that you're choosing BSN Albuquerque versus, let's say that you chose CNM instead accidentally. Basically, your application is void and you still had to pay the fee for that, and you have to do it all over again. So just make sure that you're correctly putting the right program that you're a part of, and that is the affidavit.
One of our colleagues did put together a new video with the new setup for New Mexico Board of Nursing, and it kind of walks you through at least some of those steps. Because like Gwen said, some of it's like, oh, that makes perfect sense, and some of it's like, oh, okay. I'm not sure that that makes sense to me as a layperson, but that's okay.
We have another question.
Okay, so I know you guys have talked about the UNM's like career services for like helping, you know, with like resumes and like job searches and stuff like that. You know, is there anybody we could talk to directly here at the con? Like, would that be you guys? Would it be the advancement team? Or like, or like is the UNM career services the only way to go through that? Like if we need help with this.
they are probably the best people to go through career services because they do this day in and day out, but I'd be more than happy to meet with you or look over your resume if that's something you want help with.
You have another question?
For the affidavit, do we still have to wait the 6 to 8 weeks for the full transcript, or is that skipping that and we can do that right after graduation?
So like how Nita mentioned, that it's some out-of-state Board of Nursings do have an affidavit. A lot of them don't, depending how far away they are from New Mexico. So for a lot of students that want to practice in the state of New Mexico, the affidavit is the quickest. And that's mostly because our supervisor can verify it, but the verification isn't going to happen until all of the final grades have been submitted. So typically it's, instead of waiting 6 to 8 weeks, you're probably waiting 2 to 4 weeks instead.
And it does take the place of the transcripts, correct? So you do the affidavit and you don't have to do the transcripts too, correct?
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
one or the other, never both.
And it takes a little bit longer because we do have to wait until everything is sort of official in terms of those different things when our supervisor does them. And keep in mind, when he's doing this, he'll do them in whatever order he gets them in, but it's any and every College of Nursing student who graduates this spring semester is potentially submitting those. So that's maybe what, 150 students individually formed. So in terms of those, he will kind of go through those in the order that he'll get those in his email.
We have a follow-up question to that.
So would that allow us, people who are taking it in the state of New Mexico to take the NCLEX earlier than the 6 to 8 week deadline, or is it, okay?
It might be a little earlier, but I don't think it's not necessarily a ton earlier. We can double check with our supervisor on the logistics in terms of the timing for that. The main reason that it's definitely faster is because if you're doing the transcript section, you have to wait until it's on there, then submit it, and then have them send it, verify it, and all of those kinds of things. So it's at least removing all of those steps.
Cool.
We have another question.
Okay, so just for clarity, I'm trying to like work out a timeline here. So we graduate on the 10th. As soon as we're done graduating, can we submit the affidavit if we're working in New Mexico? Or do we have to wait a certain period of time?
You're still gonna have to wait because even though you have graduated and walked the stage, it doesn't necessarily mean that final grades have been entered yet, because faculty have a grace period on when they can submit the last day to put in the grade kind of thing. So we have to wait until that point, that deadline, and then go from there, make sure all the grades are in, and then finalize and verify.
So wait until the final date, and should we be getting like our background check and fingerprints around the same time to submit it all together?
If you'd like, there's no stopping you from starting the application, but we would encourage you to wait until final grades have been entered. And then you also have to keep in mind the fingerprint process as well. You want to make sure you're going to submit the fingerprint request close to when you're about to submit the application.
And in terms of the timing, we've definitely had students who were cutting it very close on that 30-day window where they are very literal in terms of how long they'll hold on to those fingerprints, where they will hold on to them for exactly 30 days. And so when you're kind of doing that background check process to make sure that it's not too far in advance, so then you don't have to pay that $59 again because they've not held on to any of those records.
Question?
So how soon do you think we would be able to sit for the boards?
I would probably wait at least 2 weeks after you walk the stage. That's at the very minimum. And I can't even guarantee that you'll be ready by then exactly, but if you're doing in-state for the affidavit, between anywhere like 2.5 to 4 weeks, you're in a good timeline right there.
I know the advisement side of the graduation processing does not open for us until like May 30th, May 31st. And that's when we'll start processing the graduation following the regular university timeline. So I would imagine it will be, if you're looking for a slightly, hey, I want to give myself some wiggle room, but not too late, I would guess about June. Like early June, not end of June.
We have a question over here.
So if we want the compact license where we can practice in multiple states, that's gonna take longer than if we do the affidavit just for New Mexico State?
You'd
is it-
still be allowed to do the affidavit if the home state was going to be New Mexico. And I think in the Board of Nursing, they list a timeline for how long you would have to be in the state of New Mexico practicing before you could switch to other states. But if you're going to start off in New Mexico, the affidavit still works. If you were to go to Maine, for instance, most likely you would have to wait the 6 to 8 weeks to do the official transcript version instead.
And is it a different test that we register for if we do want the compact license where we practice in multiple states?
It's still called the NCLEX, but in one of the PowerPoint slides, we have the link for the compact as well.
Okay.
Question?
This might have already been answered in different words, but when can we actually register for the NCLEX, like pay that $200 and like just put our name there, like obviously not take it, like estimate that we're taking it in 4 to 8 weeks, but when can we actually register for the NCLEX?
I believe you can actually start everything now. It's probably not encouraged until after you've graduated, obviously, because we're still in classes. But for the most part, you should be able to at least start and schedule when you're going to take the NCLEX. So you can start everything now, but you won't be able to finish everything until final grades and all of that.
Question?
Okay, so I know, as part of the, I think like the Board of Nursing application, I think it was, there's like fingerprints involved, and you mentioned something about a printed version of those. So is that a thing where, are we getting sent the printed copy and then we're expected to send that in, or is that gonna be sent directly from whatever place we go to, and we just have to like match it up so they get there around the same time?
So it's mostly your sending the request to the Board of Nursing, because a lot of registered nurses or wanting to practice do their application, or there is something wrong and they get denied, or they're incomplete applications for whatever reason. Basically, this is just a new filtered way that the Board of Nursing is doing it. You do the intent to go background check. In about 30 days, your fingerprints will be ready for a hard copy to be mailed. The link to actually make the request for your fingerprints is for intent to go to mail a hard copy with your name and your identity, all of that stuff, to the Board of Nursing directly. If the Board of Nursing gets these fingerprints and they don't have the application, they're gonna throw it in the trash. So that's why you want to time it to where within a couple days of when you're going to submit the application, that way they get there at the same time and they know they can put the two together.
Definitely, if you have other kind of logistics in terms of the actual application itself and any of those kinds of things, they've got some contact information for New Mexico Board of Nursing, because that's what we know right now. And Gwen was able to talk to some folks earlier this week to get some of the newer information clarified, but it's always possible that it will change without us being notified. So if you do have something that crops up as it relates to the actual application itself or any technology kinds of things, that is definitely not something that we have the authority or knowledge to be able to help you with, and not just make things more confusing. So if you say open New Mexico Board of Nursing and you're like, hey, I've got questions on this different random section of the application, definitely check with them, because they're going to be the ones that have back end access to that side of the technology and those different kinds of things. And we don't want to give you the wrong information and have you pay that money and then have that be inaccurate. So if it is something that is specific to your application through New Mexico Board of Nursing, to just double check with them specifically, since they're going to be the ones that have the final say.
Do we have any other questions? Well, we will be sending out this video, a demonstration video that walks you through the NCLEX, as well as these PowerPoints and our contact information, probably either Friday or Monday. So you should have all of that information with you. And if you have any questions in between, you're welcome to ask us. But as Nita said, for the NCLEX part, most of it that is the Board of Nursing, and so we might have to redirect you to that piece. But thank you guys. We're very excited that you guys are getting ready to graduate. We will all see you at convocation. And we will continue to, at least my office will continue to reach out. So thank you guys. Have a great day. And we look forward to seeing you at the ceremony.
Oh, have a good one.